What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today's matchup is Magcargo versus Rain Dance. A little bit of a special take on Rain Dance. Been seeing a lot of Espeon played in these lists lately in shop, so turns it into a little bit more of a resource management deck. Allows you to use things like Pokemon Center, so we'll see how it goes. Actives are going to be Cleffa versus Cleffa, with another Cleffa on bench for Magcargo and a Squirtle on bench for Rain Dance. So opening up with a computer search to discard 2 waters. I assume we're going to go and see a fan club, so while that resolves for a sec, we'll see what they end up pulling out, but the Squirtle on bench right now is from Expedition. Pretty good attacking Squirtle too. For 2 water, you get to flip 2 coins. Double slap will deal 20 per head, so potential to hit 40 off of that basic, kind of hilarious. We do see the fan club into an Articuno and an Eevee, and that Eevee is obviously for the aforementioned Espeon. Fossil Articuno, also very, very fun to play in Rain Dance, but doesn't really show up in any other lists because of the high energy cost for the attack. But both attacks are very good. Freeze Dry with a 30 for a flip to paralysis is fantastic. Blizzard being 50 is just a good benchmark, and then dealing 10 to either their bench or your bench is very good. Warps to the Eevee, free retreats out, and will attempt to use the Cleffa here to Eek. And it is a Tails. Now that Warp committed to board could come back with Espeon later, keep that in mind. It's also good because Articuno is such heavy gust bait. And Articuno hitting your own bench with Blizzard doesn't hurt as much when you can run something like Pokemon Center, so Magcargo, looks like there's an Iggly buff in hand. You could turn off Chain Evolution with Eevee for that if you wanted to evolve, which is kind of funny. Looks like instead, first card is going to be an Oracle. And they don't have to show what gets put on top, but Oracle is a Skyridge card, so it's also technically an Umbreon card for you Evolution fans out there. Evolutions are everywhere. So this Oracle will probably take a while because I assume it's also just a general deck check at the start, trying to figure out what's prized, see what kind of lines to go for. Maybe there's some Slugma prized. Maybe there's some Magcargo prized. All good knowledge to have. All right. 2 cards on top from Oracle. And is there any energy in hand for Cleffa? Nope, doesn't look like it. So you can assume Oracle will guarantee one. War Turtle comes down, triggering Chain Evolution on Eevee, which pulls out in Aquapolis Espeon. One water attached to the Articuno.
I've been cooking with Brian, so
I played Brian's version of it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I'm gonna attempt to.
Eek attempt here, baby rule flip. And it's ahead, so worth noting, there's a War Turtle on board. Blastoise could come down next turn. Expedition War Turtle at that, with also good attacks. So, Giant Wave for 40. It just can't attack during your next turn, but you can always Warp bounce it out of that. Eek works. I assume that Fire Energy was what Oracle placed on top, so pretty desperate Oracle. The second card was lined up, but we will not see what it was. Instead, the basic energy to Cleffa pays off with a heads on the Eek. So now passing back to Rain Dance. And I can see a Blastoise in hand. I see 2 different Blastoises. I see 3 Blastoise in hands. There's turtles everywhere. It's too many turtles. If there were 4 turtles, they might be called Leonardo. They might be mutants. I don't know. Let's see. The E-Reader Blastoise I'm not as familiar with as the classic Rain Dance Blastoise, but E-Reader Blastoise does get a single slot in this deck as far as I'm aware, and no more than that. It has a Hydro Pump type of attack in Energy Cannon. It literally is Hydro Pump. It starts at 40 and it can't go over 60, and it's almost 3 water attaches. It's 2 water and a colorless. It's almost the same as Rain Dance Hydro Pump. But we're not going to see that one. We're going to see, obviously, the Rain Dance one from Celebrations. So now, as many water attaches per turn as you would like, and as many back to your hand with Espeon as you would like. Fisherman comes down to put 2 in the hand. They're going to come down onto Articuno, along with the spare. Cleffa's coming out. Articuno's coming in. And aren't you glad that Articuno is not weak to fire? Warp gets bounced up with Espeon. This will be a Blizzard attempt, I assume. No, this is a freeze dry attempt, and it's a heads. No need to roll for bench damage. That is the first prize of the match. Alright, now how does Magcargo come back from this? It would be helpful to start by putting down some basics. And that looks like a different language Slugma. I believe that is Neo Revelation. Tradering away a Magcargo, so there's either another in hand or we're just that desperate to get some sort of bench setup going. Unclear how much energy is in hand too. There was a lot of effort to get that initial fire energy. Cyndaquil comes up. Now just imagine if that Cleffa the other turn wasn't able to eke successfully from a Magcargo. This would be a total dumpster fire. There's a chance though. Obviously there's also a relevant type matchup here. Fire being weak to water. Bending Mime comes in, getting rid of that type weakness. And it doesn't sound like there's any energy. There's a Gust, which won't do much with Warp Bouncing available. There's a Magcargo in hand, so that's why we saw one traded away. What else is there? Can't quite see that other card. 2 Magcargo, maybe? Having no energy is not ideal, though. And it's a pass, which is really tough. If that Cleffa gets knocked out here and you have no energy, it's going to be brutal. Breeder into Expedition Blastoise, so we've seen every Expedition Turtle so far this match. Alright, since it's down, let's talk about Jetstream. Once during your turn, if that Blastoise is active, you can flip a coin, and if it's heads, you discard an energy card attached to Blastoise, and then if any, you can then discard an energy card from your opponent's active. Warp comes down on the Articuno. We're going to bring in the Blastoise. All the energy will get bounced back to hand with Espeon, and I assume it'll come back down on the Blastoise. It's going to put 4 on, so that would deal 50.
And attempt to attack with Energy Cannon.
50 because if this gets a knockout, the basics on bench are all knocked out by it, but it's a Tails.
No, I just want to be able to have flexibility.
Yeah, some of them are definitely ones I played with as a kid, so hopefully one was my books. Yeah.
A different Slugma, that's what it was. Magcargo comes down. Still no energy, that is brutal. But at least there's a Skyridge Slugma on board. You've probably never seen that before. Passing back to Rain Dance, which is just assaulting the board right now. Straight to an attack on Energy Cannon, saving the hand. It's another tail, so Cleffa standing strong.
One card at a time, one of these. Or not. I mean,
Still no energy, good lord. And this is a high energy deck, high energy count deck. I guess we can mention that Slugma, if there is a fire energy, Scorching Lava allows you to discard a fire energy from Slugma to use the attack, and then it guarantees a burn. Shaman comes down, which hits a big hand for Rain Dance, and also hopefully finds some energy for Slugma here. Slugma slash Magcargo.
Like I have a limited number of gusts in this deck. I don't want to. You could just draw the warp again, basically make that gust completely useless. But I don't have cards in it. Get rid of your card advantage.
And you need new cards.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Alright. Those both great card.
Yeah.
I wish I could fit it in more decks.
I try and put it in all my decks.
And Shaman's still resolving, so hang tight.
Now I have Binder Full because I have attempted to put them in lots of things, like doubles.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I actually only need one. Well, actually, I probably don't even need one.
Looks like one of the cards picked up by Rain Dance was an Oak off of that Shaman, so the pain train will keep rolling, as far as I can tell. The real question is there an energy now for this Cleffa?
Drop another slug.
Oh my gosh. I don't think there is. Neo Revelation Slugma comes down onto the bench. All those Magcargos just have googly eyes waiting for energy to show up.
Lacking in energy.
Now that Cyndaquil line does go into the Heat Up Typhlosion in this deck, so that ability is very good against Rain Dance. But Espeon can control the amount of energy it puts down. Another Tails for Cleffa, so that's 3 free turns you get through that baby rule, which is why this format is ridiculous. You're never really out of it. Unless you get locked by Murkrow, then you can be really out of it.
This year. Copycat.
Alright, DCE into Copycat. So that is at least energy, and Cleffa will be able to eke. Really got to start finding Quilava and Typhlosion here, because that would accelerate energy onto the board. Even if you have to use traders, comp searches, whatever you can to get rolling here.
Lava.
There's the Quilava. That's a good start. Strength Charm onto Magcargo. That will definitely end up mattering later. Strength Charm to another Slugma, which I now consider Gust Bait. Eek succeeds. Alright, so found some cards there. Getting some catch-up going as Rain Dance can't hit this baby, and apparently doesn't have Gust. Energy removal hits DCE, which might not matter if you can just hit it heads on this attack. Copycat in response to the Eek, always good to see. That's why the water energy came down onto Articuno. No point throwing it back into your deck when you can grab it with Espeon.
I think that your phone actually has a picture translate feature where you can line up my nose by picture too. Like, you can use the camera there and it'll translate.
Alright, Copycat resolving. Eek resolving.
Some good cards.
Let's see.
And there's an Oak again. Probably don't want to do that.
Lots of energy here, but I don't know.
One energy gets bounced with Espeon off of Blastoise inactive and gets reattached with Rain Dance back to Articuno on the bench.
Oh my god.
And another Tails for this Cleffa.
You're about to have some cards, right?
Yeah. Typhlosion.
Alright, now that Typhlosion is down, let's talk about Heat Up.
Fire energy.
And a fire energy attaches to Magcargo. So, Typhlosion. Once during your turn before you attack, you may count the total number of energy cards attached to all of your Pokemon and all of your opponent's Pokemon. And if your opponent has more total energy than you can search your deck for a fire energy and attach it to one of your bench Pokemon, if any. You could even attach it to Mr. Mime just for fun, but now it does not have to attach to a fire Pokemon, but it has to be a fire energy out of the deck.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with that. Get a quick deck peek. Let's get this here.
Alright, and a fire energy to Magcargo. I assume that was off of Heat Up.
This here.
Attached for turn will be a fire to active Cleffa, and Comp Search is going to discard
Fire energy.
2 fire energy because we don't like energy here. Alright, Rain Dance now trying to figure out what to do, because it certainly won't be knocking out that Cleffa. Illy buff comes down, which hilariously will shut off that Mr. Mime,
Just a bunch of Pokemon.
Yeah, you don't need those right
and oaked away the hand.
In that case,
Get two
That brings 2 more water energy onto the board from that oak. Looks like there's one being clutched as well. That'll go to the active Blastoise with Rain Dance. And a copycat, so lots of draw this turn.
If I come back in this game, it's entirely because of one flips on Cleffa.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually stressing about.
That's, I mean,
More water in hand. There's a Pokemon Center. A good gust. It's a timely gust. You could have just Igglied the Mime. You don't have to gust the Mime.
alright.
Oof. Okay. Would have preferred to see the Magcargo with energy and a strength charm gusted and Iggly just toggle Mime off. But a KO is a KO, so that's a prize.
You definitely have less.
Heat up, pulling a fire energy out of the deck onto Magcargo on the bench.
You need 3 with deck. You can control that having Espeon.
That's
If you
true.
wanted to.
Actually, no, wait.
I'm about to reshuffle this anyway. Because I'm going to Town Volunteers.
All right, and a town V, so this will take a minute. We'll be right back.
I have to take 5 of that 5.
Yeah.
5.
It should be out too, but it's not.
Yeah.
They try to-
All right, town V is going to grab fire energy, Cleffa, and Mime.
But yeah, 3 energy, Cleffa, and mine.
Oh, that gust could have even pulled in the Typhlosion.
Probably gonna end up shuffling again in a second. Have access to the board. Yep, I'm gonna eat.
And eek! Successfully, because it's against the Blastoise. This Blastoise and this Articuno have serious moral qualms.
I'll Jetstream first.
Actually, just the Blastoise. The Articuno actually knocked out a Cleffa.
Yeah, that's a discount.
And there is a knockout on the Cleffa. It only took forever. Oh no, that was for Jetstream. No. Okay. Oh, I thought that was going to be a Tails for sure. Down to 3 prizes for Rain Dance.
Yep. You get to see yourself.
Now, if Magcargo has the option
It matters
to hit a gust here,
if I have no energy in hand, I need to be on the bench to fuel it, sort of.
if Magcargo can pull a gust, Fire Stream with Strength Charm would deal 70, which could knock out the Articuno with 5 energy attached to it. That would be a big deal.
Keep them chilling.
Okay. Max coming up. The energy. The trainer.
There is a gust. Do I see that right? Do I see 2 gusts?
Alright.
Oh man.
I'm gonna trader away the Cyndaquil for the mod.
Trading away the Cyndaquil to go and get the Mime again. Not that it should matter with Iggly down.
Oh, of course. Very next. Actually, there was one card ahead of it, and it was a thing.
He really wants to be on the bench.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of being here at the moment. he's just enjoying the atmosphere. Yep. Yeah.
Alright, DCE comes down. Energy Stadium comes down.
Use it. Nope.
Alright, let's talk about Fire Stream. So it'll deal 60, Strength Charm puts it to 70, then you discard a Fire Energy no matter what, and if your opponent has any bench Pokemon, you deal 10 to each of them. The current ruling on Strength Charm means that it'll be up to 20. Nerf when.
And yeah, I'm gonna deal 70 to Articuno and 20 to everything on the bench.
And that's a huge knockout.
Discard the Strength Charm.
Alright, so super injured bench, but with Espeon at least you can use Pokemon Center.
12. That's 120 damage on him.
Yeah.
Alright, lots of cards in hand for Rain Dance, lots of options. Definitely think we see a Pokemon Center come down here. It's too much damage to heal off board.
We're going to
Gust.
Fisherman.
Item Finder for a Fisherman. Love that card in this deck. 4 back to the hand. You can put them wherever you need. Bounces all the energy with Espeon.
Oh shit. Okay.
And Pokemon centers away the damage.
Yep.
Now drop that energy down. Gaze that Mr. Mime and ruin everyone's day. Blastoise comes up. Alright, I'm just going to start to assume that I'm missing something when it comes to using Iggly on Mime.
Stadium.
10 onto Mr. Mime.
Jetstream.
Jetstream attempt here, not needed. Not needed at all.
Negative on the Jetstream. Okay. I will energy candy for 40. 60.
Yes, it's 60.
Okay. Well, I'm checking the text on Igglybuff and I'm checking the text on Mr. Mime, and I'm pretty sure you can Gaze Dampening Shield and just take the KO here. But why would we do that when we could have more fun?
You still have more energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to use Heat Up.
Alright, so Blastoise maxed out Energy Cannon, dealt 60 to Magcargo. Magcargo only has 80 HP. Magcargo also can't get a knockout here. Blastoise has good HP as well. Both of them have 100, which is a lot. Espeon at 80 is also pretty bulky for a stage 1 like Magcargo.
See how good mine.
Even though I just said only.
It's really good. It's keeping me alive. Well, so is that Cleffa. Cleffa is the MVP of this
That's true.
game so far. Alright, I'm actually going to drop my second fire here. And drop a strength charm here.
Yep.
And gust up the other Blastoise.
Alright, other Blastoise is getting gusted. Rain Dance Blastoise, I should say. Base set, Celebrations, Base 2, whatever you want to call it.
Drop this Summer Seed. And try for an energy.
Cyndaquil comes down onto the bench, and Energy Stadium is good, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm going to mark 70 on it and 20 on all the others.
Alright, and Magcargo, also with a Strength Charm, is going to Fire Stream for 70 to active, 20 to bench. And I do think there will be another Pokemon Center. Alright, Energy Stadium is a heads. Fan Club, possibly to pull out an Articuno, maybe another Squirtle.
Just looking at my deck.
Oh, sorry. This needed to
The
be
fire is
discarded.
discarded.
And so is this.
There we go, cleaning up the board.
He's getting too big for my bridges there. Sorry, Brian.
He's probably already commented on it.
They have no idea.
Don't know what's going on here, but think they're cheating.
Maybe if they shuffle long enough, they'll realize that Igglybuff shuts off Mime.
Just waiting for one of them to know.
For real.
That's so funny.
I want to know if you want to be a 8 or 10.
Bounce these.
What the hell got fan clubbed? Hello. Okay. I guess that was a fan club for 0. Which, yes, you can do. Blastoise gets warped out, which is very important. Bounce with Espeon, because energy return is as often as you'd like. There's center. Magcargo hated that. And now I think we're going to see a knockout here. There's at least 3 water energy in hand. So Energy Cannon will be able to deal 40 and knock out Magcargo.
And,
Of course, there is another Magcargo ready.
knockout.
Now, as long as there's a fire energy in hand for Magcargo, Heat Up will... Actually, nope, that won't work. Heat Up only goes to bench. Oh, that stinks. No free retreaters available to put in active. So don't see a way for Magcargo to get an attack off this turn unless there's a DCE available, but an attach or heat up is going to be an either or this turn.
What was your goal with this? I assume some people.
Alright, Mime is now active, which hilariously means its ability is off.
Heat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heat up to the Magcargo, so I guess there was no natural attach available for the turn, although we will see because ordering matters for Heat Up's ability to work properly.
We're at parity for energy now.
So the other options are.
Oh yeah.
After the heat up. Yeah. It's just a mental note.
Yeah. So we could always just cap this out.
Stuff that I am missing.
I think my prizes were completely irrelevant this game. I didn't lose anything, which is crazy. Feels crazy.
We could do a portion of cash, a portion of credit. Try to make it yeah. So I'll kind of approach it. Cash in mind. Yeah, I know there's some.
I tried to fit a trader in this deck, and there was no room.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm like,
Talking about trainer bases, there's a fire energy in hand.
what point?
interesting.
Iggly comes up for some reason. That's the magic of Warp Point. Free retreater. Makes sense. Wow, okay. So I was wrong about the either or when it came to attaching for turn or using heat up because there were no free retreaters. I forgot this deck runs Warp Point, so that does allow Magcargo to power up. Of course, Warp Point's downside, it threw an Igglybuff into the active, so now it's a baby flip here. But, worth noting, I was completely wrong that Magcargo wouldn't be able to get an attack off this turn.
How many cards do you have in your hand?
Quite a few. 9.
9 cards in hand for Rain Dance. Are we going to see a copycat?
That's the downside. Wow, I didn't think about that. Like, keeping the energy in hand is like copycat bait.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get it right now.
Yep.
But
Did you see this? It's got a map of Waterdeep on the back.
that's sweet.
I was at the Torrington Red Fair
What was that?
last
Last weekend?
last Saturday. Saturday only.
Oh, that's
Toppers.
Yep.
All right. Oracle puts 2 on top.
Shop.
Yeah, not surprised.
It was small though.
Oracle does synergize with Eruption from Magcargo because each player discards their top card off their deck, and then it deals 20 plus 20 more for each fire energy discarded in that way, which is hilarious for fire matchups or mirror matches.
Yeah.
And it was a Tails on Iggly buff, I think, unless that was a Tails for Energy Stadium. Did not hear what they called. No, it was definitely for
Yeah, I'm gonna try
Energy Stadium. Alright, Fire Stream attempt. Going to be 60 to Iggly if it heads. And it's a Tails.
Right.
This mime is doing its job.
This mime is not doing its job. This Iggly buff is not doing its job.
Now I shut mime off with
Yep.
Ugly buff
Right, and then that's it.
and I'll energy cannon for knockout.
Okay, so they did finally do the thing. I don't know what took so long. But Iggly to shut off Mime, Energy Cannon from Blastoise is now super effective, knocks out the Magcargo.
But you get a copycat for 11.
I guess I should just
1 prize left for Rain Dance. That'll probably do it.
Yeah, let's put up mine. And immediately drop copycat.
Yep.
How many?
11.
No hand into an 11 card copycat.
Perfect.
That's hilarious.
I was gonna say without Pokemon Center this would have been a very different game, but also without Cleffa this would have been a very different game.
Yeah.
All right, 9 you said?
11.
11.
Alright, an 11 card Eek. Or sorry, 11 card copycat. Eek can't even do that.
Right.
I don't think Typhlosion's getting powered up here.
Let's evolve to Palava.
Yep.
It can heat up for itself, but Super Singe is only 50 to then flip for a burn. Although it is 2 fire and a DCE, so
This is so much more of a resource management deck.
Drop Cleffa. Heat up. Really hoping there's one in here.
not even sure if heat up can hit a fire energy in deck. That is brutal. There is no fire energy left in the deck. Yeah, that's gonna do it for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't really need to accelerate. I have most of the cards in my hand, but it would have been nice if I could have played one on mine and played one on Cleffa this turn. So evolve to Magcargo.
Play one on Cleffa. Well, I guess you have a big enough hand. Yeah. Put some cards in the deck. Deck them out. Are we going to try to stall?
Retreat
Cyclone Energy will pull a Cleffa in.
Yeah.
and Energy Stadium.
Energy Stadium is Tails.
Energy Stadium in all my decks. It always helps my opponent when it helps me. Alright, and I'll pass.
Okay.
That is a pass. We're getting down to some thin deck lists.
Yep.
Very thin piles.
Show you this item finder.
Oh, and it's going to be Item Finder for Gus, so that'll do it. Thank you for watching. Quite the tight matchup. There was Mime, there was Iggly, there was Confusion. And there was a lot of rain dancing, so thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Better game than I thought it was going to end up being.
You held your ground, I think, for an inordinate amount of time. So
Well,
good on you.
It was all that Cleffa. I take no credit for that. I had a decent hand.
Yeah.
I could have started.
Oh yeah, that's
Could have started pulling from the bin.
and that's 100 HP. Yeah.